everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to PSGL PF3, another round of the 40 Championship. Tonight we are entering the second half of the season. We're here for round 6. Tonight, take a trip over to a usual season finisher, a usual last few race Grand Prix head to Lagos in the, of course, back in the 90s and early 80s as well. It was very much an opening round of this. Never at mid here this evening, and there was some big news coming out of the last race as well. After an incident between Santana and Casper Flack, a penalty was awarded to Casper Flack, demoting him from that race victory in his home turf. And unfortunately for him, that meant Victor Vidler, once again, another driver that likes to take these, likes to keep getting these wins on people's home grounds by the penalties after the race. He picks up the victory. So the only two drivers we've had win this are Ave Gabadi and also Victor Vidler, who with that now has a in the championship. Let's quickly take you through the championship head track side. The drivers are just now on their qualifying session. Look at the standings before things. It is, of course, Vidler who does lead the way by 16 points over Ave Gabadi and Dennis Langrock, who was able to slice that gap down more on the man in second. DNS make it 3 DNSs in a row. Do not starts for Ave Gabadi. Unfortunately, it's not his either. Has no Wi-Fi at the moment. Not going Ave Gabadi's way at the moment, and I think the championship challenge, unless he comes back within the next couple of weeks, does get railed. Then it's Santana Steg. Then it's Flack, who goes to 4th place after that incident. Krieg, Curiel, Kennis, Bieda, Basner, Diaz, Gio, Piagetski, Salsa, Gallané, who picked up his first point last week, and then Janssen, Rene Kling, Cavero, and Napadovsky round out your point for us. But let's now head track side as the drivers are now underway here for qualifying. First driver around on a lap. Ferrari, now actually the Williams of Alex Santana, so as he now makes his way down into the Sena de Largo. 17.0 is his first sector split time. Makes his way up the hill. Only 14 cars this evening, unfortunately. Still great racing, no doubt. Into turn 8, down to 3rd gear. Brings the car nicely. Maybe a little bit slow on the apex speed. Now as he exits out of Pinarino and up into the Pico de Pato. Has a little wobble out there of turn 10 and makes his way now inside down to 3rd gear. Back over to that right hand side on the exit, slowly pick up that power. Up to the line we shall go with Alex Santana, the first driver to set a lap, the benchmark lap for this evening. Across the line he shall go. It is a 1 minute 6.673. Not too bad at all from the Williams driver. Of course, with that penalty for Flack, made it a Williams 1-2. Iskrig did invalidate on his attempts. Basner, I think that is just setting up for a lap. It is. We are now going to look at the man who won on the road last week and got that penalty. Unfortunately for his circumstances, applied for a push to pass, and Casper Flack is actually setting up for another attempt. So we'll now go to Till Achenbach, who's now making his way through the final corner. But Achenbach has got across the line. He shall go. Is it enough to beat Santana? No, misses out by less than a tenth of a second. Victor Fiddler up to the line. He's at a 6.8, but did invalidate, but carried on probably for that delta. Langrock up into second place, of course. He's now staring at a potential opportunity to finish top 2 in the standings, or even pull himself into his own championship fight. That is Giovanni Kennis now to the top of the times. Spectacular lap time there from him to go around about 700ths quicker than Alex Santana. We have one of the Red Bulls to the line. That'll be Daniel Boyer, just making his way through the final corner. Up to the line he goes. Goes up to 5th fastest. A 6.7 from him. 3 drivers in those 6.7s. Let's have a look at Noel Gio. He's invalidated. Lucas Basler is pushing on. So the Mercedes driver now making his way through the final corner. Can he rival Giovanni Kennis' lap time or even beat his teammate? He does rival Giovanni Kennis' lap time by beating it. He goes that little bit faster into the 0.5s. Now we go. And Lucas Basler goes to the top of the times. Of course, recently signing for Ventari. Be very happy how this partnership could start here in PSGL. 3 drivers yet to set lap times, that being of Wojtek Steg, Noel Gio and Victor Vidler. Lowest of all so far is, I will try not to butcher this, Dito Kashondo, as Napadowski goes up into 3rd place. That's a nice lap time there from Oleg. Of course, not featured too much this season. When he has, it's not really gone his way. I think Cajondo is actually Claudio Diaz, who's racing this evening. So we're calling Claudio Diaz so I don't carry on butchering that gamer tag. Gio now up into 10th place, but he's just come across the line to finish the lap, and that was a 20.1. So backed off. Get ready to go again. And Napadowski, as I was mentioning, just hasn't had the best luck this season. He's not really had the pace either, and when he has, it's just not gone his way at all for Noel Gio. He's now pushing on. He's next to Casper Flack, keeps out the way quite nicely on that right-hand side. That was the only report we actually had last, that Casper Flack into now heading through the middle sector. Through Pinarino we go with Noel Gio, and up in Vigo Pato. What does the Frenchman have in the tank? Is this enough to beat Istrig and Galanet? Hits the brakes into Yansao. 12.1 seconds up. This at the moment will put him on a 0.79, but it seems how much he could find in that final part of the lap. Of course, wasn't using battery on that 20.1, so surely a healthy amount of time in that final part of the lap. Across the line, it's a 6.9 from Gio, and he goes in 9th fastest as Casper Flack now starts his latest attempt. He, of course, is yet to set a competitive lap time on the board. What is he going to be able to deliver with 10 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock? Half seconds good in that first sector as he enters at Delago. Still a very challenging circuit at times. Gio letting Flack by at the exact same point where Flack let Gio by on that previous lap. But it's a very tricky circuit to master. You've got a lot of off-camber corners, a lot of undulation, going up hills, down hills. And it's just so difficult to set up because you've got a technical middle sector, but then in the first and the final sectors, it's very much straight line dependent. So it's very tricky to set a car up to be well rounded around here. 12.5 seconds up here is Casper Flack. Probably at the moment is looking to go just in front of Noel Gio. Potentially could be rivaling the front row of the grid actually. About 4 tenths further up the road. Across the line here we go then with Casper Flack. What's this going to be? It's top of the times for Casper Flack. A 6.562 Very nicely done indeed. Beats Lucas Beister by 17 thousandths of a second. It's super close at the front of this field. Small improvements conceded to the very top. And the man who got brutally denied his home win last time out, Casper Flack, looking to maybe come back with a bang. Regain some form and maybe just regain some confidence after that incident earlier on in last week. Victor Vidler, I think. No, it's not Victor Vidler starting a lap. It is going to be mate of Alex Santana, the driver who started off this session. And that lap time has held up pretty nicely on a 8.673. And he makes his way through the first sector. Oh, a little bit of a snap out of the center S's. Down the Retro Posta into De Largo. First sector split. Are we up or down? We're still up by 15 thousandths of a second. For a attempt. Now makes his way up into the next right-hander of 67. That was a lot better. Into 8. Was carrying a lot more speed through there this time around. Did have a little wobble, of course, out of Pico to Pato last time around. So if he can maybe tidy up the exit here, he could find even a couple more hundredths of a second to put his lap even better in the contention for pole position. Across the middle sector split, nearly up by 2 tenths of a second. Could we see our first driver into those 0.4s or even better? So for Santana, there's certainly been some track evolution. There has certainly been some cleanups in the mistake area. And now up to the line we go with Santana. What's it going to be? It's a 1 minute 6.4, a tenth to the good over Casper Flack. A spectacular lap time there from Alex to put him onto that provisional pole. But we'll see what the others have in response. Beisler's up in the middle part of the lap. Is that Navadowski coming to the line? Yes, it is, but he's aborted, so we'll go back to Lucas Beisler. Of course, held pole position at the start of this session. Across the line, he goes second fastest, just underneath a tenth shy, and just in front of Casper Flack. We've got Giovanni Kenish just starting in a 10th. That's Victor Vidler actually coming to the line. Still not a lap time yet. It's the championship leader. Across the line he goes now, and he goes up to 8th fastest on the 6.731. Fortunately for him, 8th is not going to be too strong, especially when it comes to that championship fight, especially with championship rival at this stage, Dennis Langrock, up into 3rd, just behind teammate Beisler as East Krieg goes up into 2nd. Spectacular lap time there from him. Koya's pushing on. He's actually identical to his previous lap at the moment, not finding any time in the slightest, and elects to come in pit lane. Next might be Achenbach. He is, but he has invalidated Napadovsky purple in the middle sector. We've still got Kennis coming to the line as well. So what's Giovanni Kennis got in store as he crosses the line? He goes faster than Alex Santana. But what about Napadovsky as he runs to the line? He goes 3rd fastest. So we have a total of 4 cars separated by less than a tenth of a second from Kennis down to Iskrig. And this is oh so close here in this qualifying session. Brazil always does provide brilliant qualifying sessions. They are ridiculously close. And for Giovanni Kennis, he now takes that top spot away, but we're still waiting for times from the likes of Claudio Diaz, who goes up into 3rd fastest. Now Gio is now pushing on to his 2 tenths to the good on his previous best. He's up to 9th fastest now. Victor Vidler pushed down to 11th place at 6.6 for Gio. But this is certainly a circuit where those fine margins do come in handy as Claudio Diaz went up into 3rd to make that now 5 cars within a tenth of a second. And it clearly shows exactly with that. 5 cars, less than a tenth. And then to Lucas Beisler, it's still under a tenth and a half. I think Casper Flack just went up to 8th fastest. No, that was Achenbach just finishing a lap to go up into 9th. Not too far off Casper Flack either. Super tight. It is close. I mean, look at the 2 Mercedes separated by 3 thousandths of a second. At one point, they were running 2nd and 3rd. They're now 6th and 7th. Here up. Like what final runs here of qualifying. Not long left to go. who will deliver the goods when they need to the most. That, of course, is the daring question at the moment. But for Giovanni Kennis, he's got the least amount of pressure on his shoulders. On that pole position, Kennis, prime position, take pole with 3 seconds left to go. Then, of course, so close behind. 59,000 separate those two. And that can easily be found around a circuit like this. It could even be that slide that Santana had in the first sector out of the center S's, which hemorrhaged so much time down that retro poster into the Sino de Largo. Of course, likes of Diaz, Napadowski, Wrigley not surely seen the best here from Championship Victor Vidler either. As the Stampeder cars now make their way onto the circuit. First driver out, look, one of the V-Cubs, it is one of the V-Cubs, it's Claudio Diaz. The Spaniard, who is another one of the victims of the Victor Vidler curse, I would like to call it from now on, at a home race. He won, of course, on track in Spain. For a similar reason, lost that race victory. Happened to Casper Flack. That's 2 drivers that have lost out on their first race victories of the season at their home races. And that was Casper Flack's first race victory as well, so he has to wait a little bit further on for his first PC victory. Are we going to see a push lap here from Claudio Diaz? We'll tell by the battery down this main straight. He's setting up for one, you think. Across the line he goes. Yes, we are now pushing onto a lap here with Claudio Diaz. So the final laps of qualifying have well and truly begun as he makes his way through the center S's. A bit of a slide through turn 2, but has the time to back out and does. That is going to be Claudio Diaz's first attempt, but he will just back out of things. Napadowski now pushing on. He is in 4th place, still in that 1 minute 6.4 range, and in the first sector is up by nearly 1/10 of a second. At the moment, won't be enough to snatch provisional pole away from Giovanni Kennis, but will sure get him onto that front row of the grid. Can he find anything through the middle parts of the lap as we're about to head into turn 8, but it's so difficult to find your braking point here. It's all based off instinct, all based off feel as you now head through Pinarino and up the hill into the Pico Tapato. Once again, a tricky braking point. If you go onto that grass, you're spinning round, and then on the traction, the car just wants to step out underneath you as you hit the bump and head down the hill. Now, as you then head into Yansao, he's not lost or found any time in the middle part of the lap. Maybe a little bit wider than what he would want to be through Yansao, but for Napadowski, could he take the upper hand at this early stage of the final laps of qualifying? The first driver to get a run on the board. What's it going to be? Is it enough for pole? No, misses out. Did lose time in that final sector. And unfortunately for him, it is not going to be enough for him to snatch pole position. Baisler, Langrock, Gallané up into 6th place. Is Casper Flack pushing on? He is across the line. He goes up to 6th fastest. Does Casper Flack. Iskrieg is just starting an attempt. Achenbach is pushing on. He's up by 2/10 of a second, currently on a 6.6. He could potentially snatch pole position our way across the line. 3rd fastest, just behind teammate Napadowski. What about Victor Vidler? Is he setting a lap? He does set a lap and go 5th fastest. Now Gio's on an out lap. Santana has just started pushing on. So I think it's best if we go back to Claudio Diaz. He's down in the first sector by 6/10. What about Santana though? Oh, we just couldn't see that first sector split. Of course, we're on board here with Claudio Diaz. That's actually one of Mercedes, just a little bit further up. That's off Dennis Langrock, of course, one of the drivers in the championship fight, and he's up by nearly 2/10 of a second. This will be enough to snatch provisional pole away from Giovanni Kennis. To the line we go with Langrock, and it is enough for 6.377. Diaz into pit lane. Next will be teammate Lucas Beister to the line. What's it going to be here for the Mercedes? Can he do enough to snatch it away from his teammate? Doesn't seem so thus far. No, only 10th fastest. Iskrig to the line. He's down in the middle. Is he up in the final? No, he is not. Then it will be, I think, Giovanni Kennis. No, it's Santana to the line. Here goes 4th fastest. Kennis has invalidated. That is crucial for him. Casper Flack won't be pushing on. What about Niall Gio? What can he do on his lap? And oh, he is invalidated. Oh, Gio is only 12th fastest for him. And that is going to be the end of qualifying. And crucially, when it comes to that championship fight, it's the German of Dennis Langrock who takes his first pole position of the season. Giovanni Kennis just misses out on pole position by the barest of margins. Not much separating the Mercedes from the Alpine. A super close, a super tense qualifying. But it is going to be Dennis Langrock who takes pole position here this evening. And that will give him an extra point, bringing that gap down to 15 points between him and Victor Vidler heading into the Grand Prix. Could we finally see a break in that Victor Gabadi streak? And we are now taking you through your results. It's Langrock from Kennis, Napadovsky, Santana, Achenbach, Vidler, Diaz, Iskrig, Flack, Beisner rounds out your top 10. Then Galanay, Gio, Koya, and Steg rounding out your field. Wojtek Steg not able to set a lap time in that session. Just look at that load. The top 11 separated by just over a 10th and a half. The top 6 separated by less than a 10th. It was ridiculous fine margins in that qualifying session. Now head over to the race. This is certainly going to be one to look out for and one to watch. Will Vidler continue that streak? Only him and Gabadi winning races this season. Or and we have our third different winner of the season. Of course, on the strategy front, I think medium hard or medium hard. I think a one stop is also possible. So, race, Langrock has the opportunity to bring that gap down. Championship by a few points. Bring that title alive. Well and that title battle, sorry, well and alive. For Langrock, there's a bit more pressure on his shoulders than Vidler. Vidler just has to finish this comfortable playing position. Whereas Langrock, of course, has to have the goal of outscore Vidler. A real tense final rounds of the season. But we are now heading to those 5 red lights. It's Langrock and Kennis on the front row of the grid. And we're underway here in Interlagos. It's a good start from Kennis, who draws side by side with Dennis Langrock into that first corner. The Alpine will break late to Mercedes on the optimal swinging outside line, though, but it'll compromise his run through turn 2. And this could be where Giovanni Kennis gets the move done. We've also got Napadovsky and Santana squabbling just behind them as they're 2x2 down that main straight. Got 3 wide in the background involving championship leader Victor Vidler. Is now to the inside of Achenbach. Santana ahead of Napadovsky. Achenbach falling behind Victor to Vidler. Iskrig has been able to get past onto Claudio Diaz as well. It's now side by side between Casper Flack and Lucas Basner as they make their way through turn 8 into the braking zone now, as he's actually gone to the inside of, that is going to be a Claudio Diaz to the inside when Casper Flack there in the opportunity to get past not one but two cars in one corner. He's now boxed in by Diaz. Basner's able to swing it right round the outside through the Pico to Pato, but Basner has the optimal run out of the corner on that tighter inside line, and Basner has to cede position as there's Flack to the inside of Diaz, and that's another incident that potentially could have come under fire on this opening tour. He's got reported for it last week. He could get reported for it again. Gio now trying to capitalise as well. Langrock with a dream start, half a second clear. Basner now going to try look to the outside here of Casper Flack. Not able to get anything done, but just a little bit further back. That is going to be Noel Gio making his way through on Claudio Diaz. The Frenchman up into the points on this opening lap. A good start from him. A disappointing start, though, from Jeremy Gallonay, who's gone down to 14th place and is being now stuck behind on to Daniel Koya. So let's have a look at the tyre situation. Everyone on the mediums but the four at the back. That of Diaz, Steg, Koya and Gallonay. And shows the real split in the strategies by how much Diaz was bogged down there. Everyone's still within DRS range of one another. Dennis Langrock leads the way now by 8 tenths of a second. If you can find 2 more tenths in Yen Sao, it's difficult to do, but if Nate Kennis makes a mistake, it could potentially mean he breaks free of DRS and can start pushing off down the road. But no, Kennis, no mistake made there, and he will have DRS down that main straight. For Kennis, he can now start to maybe save a little bit and push on ever so slightly. See, actually, Lucas Basner getting closer to the back of Casper Flack. He wants to try and get that move redone on the Aston Martin. Of course, lost it on that opening tour. Here on lap 3, wants to get back by. Starting to drop off the back of East Creek is the Aston Martin, the Dutchman. Basner. Got Noel Gio behind him as well, who of course will want to pick up any of the pieces in this race. Oh, and Basner big rear locking into Yen Sao, potentially just tap the grass, and that is going to give Noel Gio a prime opportunity to make his way up into 9th place. Surely the Frenchman is going to want to capitalise on this. He'll use the battery, he'll use the slipstream and pull to the outside line. Already dummy now to the inside. He's going to surely look for the move. No, elects to just sit behind. Yes, it could potentially mean... Oh, he's actually gone deep into the corner. No, Gio goes deep, and that now gives Claudio Diaz the opportunity to have an attack. Iskrig further up is also in a position to potentially get past Ackenbach, but we're still side by side here with Diaz and Gio heading into Lucino de Largo. And for Noel Gio, he's a lucky boy to hold on to that one, or is he? He's gone deep into the corner, and that is going to be Claudio Diaz through. He says, thank you very much. I'll capitalise on those 2 mistakes. And the Frenchman gets demoted to 11th. Unfortunate there for Noel Gio. Dropped down the field like that. But he couldn't capitalise on Basner's mistake. Maybe got caught out under braking by how early the Mercedes broke, or how late that the Mercedes broke. It called him out. And unfortunately for him, dropped down to 11th. Got put under some pressure by Diaz and got made to go deep into turn 4. Dino De Largo. Diaz said, thank you very much. I'll get the up and under and go my merry way. Langrock, of course, still leading as we're on lap 5 now of 36. He's got Giovanni Kennis really starting to put pressure onto the back of his car, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kennis at the moment is just saving. Tyre saving, battery saving. Not really pushing on. Really wanting to get this move done because of how early on we are into the race. Of course, the pit window will be open very shortly for the think. And for Giovanni Kennis, want to use those tyres as soon as Langrock comes into pit lane and really be able to push on them on his lap. Nicely done. Now, Lanrock seems to get that gap to around about 0.7 of a second by the time we exit out Ian Sow, and then the DRS just reels Giovanni Kennis back into play. Up the hill have so much of an effect, and you can see he gets all the way down to nearly 2/10 of a second once more. Santana goes a little bit deep through that first corner, potentially caught out behind Kennis there with the dirty air, and that could allow Napadovsky to get close, but just at the moment is the kick Sauber. Nice exits, drive out of the corner and head up in sector, of course, now into turn 8 and into Premio. Dosky just not close enough at the moment. See himself through. Victor Vittler as well is actually getting really close to the back of the kick Sauber, who's in a Williams sandwich at the moment. The one thing you don't want is to be in a squabble with the championship leader, because if you come into contact with him, or if you potentially just take him out of the race, not look good on your resume. Especially if that is a championship defining incident. Still no one close enough to get any moves just yet. I was just putting over to that left-hand side to cool down that engine. A lot of engine power needed around here in Brazil. Especially for straights like this. Heading up the hill. Actually, got to be Lucas Bates all over the back of Casper Flack, who potentially made a mistake into the Sino de Largo. Still just close enough. Is Basner. He gets close, but no cigar at the moment. Pico to Pato. Then down the hill into Ian Sow. Are we finally going to see an opportunity open up here for Basner? Another big slide. He really slides the car out there for Ian Sow. Wondering if he potentially gets onto the grass on the outside, or if he just is a little bit too aggressive on turning, or even just braking itself. Rear end out. Casper Flacken process has responded to Lucas Bader, extending that gap after that mistake from the Mercedes, and really closed in onto Krieg in front, but close enough to the rear Ferrari just yet. But of course, these hard tyres are now going to be the ones we want to be on probably within the next couple of laps. As they'll start to produce more grip, and those mediums will really start to be quite difficult to be on at the moment, as Kennis is actually looking to attack onto Dennis Lanrock in front, so we might now see a squabble between the top two in this race, and Giovanni Kennis is certainly looking like he's going to be a lot more punchy in this next half of this stint. 9 laps already done on those mediums, 8 laps already done on these mediums, 9th lap we are on. And by the looks of things, I think the pit window is coming up ever so shortly. How aggressive he was there, and how much he wanted to try and get that move done. Kennis is now really starting to apply some pressure onto the back of Dennis Lanrock, and pray for a mistake to be made from the Mercedes man. Get a good run now up the hill. A lot closer than he has been in the past. DRS now open. Lanrock is already derating. I think he's put the car into none to save on the battery. And here comes Kenneth to the outside once again. Langrock defends the inside. Gone a little bit deep through the corner. Going to compromise his exit. And a big slide as well. This might give Kenneth that opportunity he dearly needed. DRS will be open for the Alpine, but not for the Mercedes. To the outside, Giovanni Kenneth goes. And it's a lovely move with the DRS. Put Langrock under the pressure, made him go a little bit offline through two, and that brought the move on as Wojtek Steg has now got his way past on Niall Gio. He's another driver to drop a place on this lap, as actually Claudio Diaz is looking for the move on to Lucas Basner into turn 6. There's contact. Basner set into a slide. He's just been able to recover the car somehow and stay with this train. But Claudio Diaz, he went for a gap that was never really on, you would think, especially with him being forced onto the grass. And unfortunately, for Lucas Basler, he comes out the worst of the two. Claudio Diaz, he's up into ninth, but nearly out of the DRS range of Casper Flack in front of him. Daniel Koya now starting to put Niall Gio under some pressure as well. Those mediums are really starting to hit their cliff compared to those hards. Basler comes into pit lane, and there goes Koya through on the inside of Niall Gio. That's actually put Gio deep and allowed now Jeremy Gallinet to potentially get a move done. He's going to open up that DRS and see himself through. Two Frenchmen swap places in this one. Gallinet up into 12th, Gio down to 13th. Basner, our only stopper thus far. He's certainly on that two-stop strategy. At the front of the field, look how close is Kenneth, Langrock, Santana and Apadovsky, separated by 3 tenths apiece. And as we exit out of Yinsao, head up the hill, through the final couple of corners. Are we going to see anyone from the front field come into pit lane? Yes, we do. It's Napadovsky and Santana into the pits. They both come in. Napadovsky lucky not to speed there. We also see Ivan Iskrig and also Casper Flack dive in as well. How powerful this undercut? That is going to be the question. At the front of the field, Kenneth able to keep Langrock behind. That gap half a second between the pair. Out of the pit lane comes Napadovsky, Santana, Rig and Flack. Basner around about 2 seconds behind. Of course, that pit lane exit is so difficult to get right as well on cold tyres. Kenneth, he's going to reply and come in pit lane now. Same with everybody else on the medium compounded tyres. We'll have no more runners in this race. Now Diaz away from Steg, Koya and Gallinet, the last of the stoppers. But where is Napadovsky? He's now heading down that main straight. And where, of course, is Giovanni Kenneth? He's just heading into that first corner now. It's going to be surely a drag race here between the pair. Napadovsky there on the inside. That'll be the outside for the next right-hander, but he will get ahead surely here. And yes, he is out ahead of, that is Giovanni Kenneth. And Santana also just about got the jump. He had the DRS, so did Napadovsky, thanks to them coming out of the pit lane. And that was Alex Santana now moving himself up the net P2 with Kenneth and Langrock coming out in net P3 and 4. But for Giovanni Kenneth, lost 2 places in that. Of course, Napadovsky having that DRS because of the drivers coming around the pit lane, sorry, on the exit. If you're in a second by the time they reach that detection zone, they're coming out of the pits, you still pick up that drag reduction system. Lapadovsky with the fastest lap of the race. Shows how much he's been pushing since he's got those tyres up to temperature. And he is at the moment 6 tenths clear of Alex Santana. Of course, only a 1 lap tyre difference. Won't reach much for Kennis and Lamrock at this stage, or even probably any stage of this stint. How long though? It's the big one. Can those front runners on those hards take their hard compounder tyres? Mediums do a maximum of 12 so far. If they want to try to one-stop, they'll take those hards at least 24 laps. Maybe a couple less due to the fact there's less and the track's more rubbered in. But at the very, very least. Try and take them 20 laps. And I think, actually, a bit of front wing damage after that incident with Lucas Baisley. Yes, he does. On the left front end plate is missing. And that is allowing Wojtek Stick to really close up. Triangular move done as Baisner, talking about Lucas Baisner, picks up the first 3-second time penalty of the evening. And unfortunately for him, goes from bad to worse. Rains, it certainly does pour for Lucas Baisner. Like not being on his side today. So for Claudio Diaz, as he's of course trying to resent the pressure there from Wojtek Szczegers. Actually, Steg goes to the inside. Done nice and easy. Diaz actually does tap the back of him as a yellow flag in the final sector, and oh, that's for Noel Gio, who has somehow gone straight on at Yin Sao. And for the Frenchman, it has not been his way ever since he got overtaken by Diaz making that mistake. His feathers got ruffled, fortunately for Niall. Now 18 seconds off the back of Lucas Baisner. Our first yellow flag, our first incident really of the evening that has caused a big yellow flag. Completely off the back of the train. For the Haasman, he'll be now relying on a miracle. Find his way back through. Lapadovsky is catching the train of cars in front at a rate of 9.0 as they entered that middle sector. It's now 8.3. They've now found a near on second through the middle parts of the lap. Now how much more they gain? 8.1 on the exit of the corner. Probably going to see a bound down to 7.9. Yes, it is 7.9 seconds between Oleg Lapadovsky and Jeremy Galinate. Himself really losing time to the cars in front, so that just shows how quick Lapadovsky at the moment. Santana is starting to come under a little bit of pressure from Kennis. Baisner retires from the race. Our first full retirement. That's unfortunate to see from Baisner. Not going well at all. After that incident, he fell off the back of the train and just was not going to be able to recover at that point. Heading into turn 6, the gap was 7.8. Through turn 6 and 7 alone, they found 0.3 of a second on these fresher hard compounded tyres. And that gap down now to a 6.9. It'll be a 6.8 by the time they reach the brakes. They are flying up to the back of the queue of cars in front. But with the likes of Koya and co all go into pit lane, these guys do really catch up. Santana starting to get really close to the back now of Lapadovsky. Knows he needs to start to get a move on, especially with Kenneth starting to hound him with some pressure from behind. 6 seconds now, that gap between Galanay and Napadovsky. Once again, Napadovsky just being able to hold off Alex Santella for now into the braking zone of turn 1. You can start to see all those hard runners just up the road as well. Of course, managing that traffic is going to be absolutely crucial for these drivers, and it could be make or break here for the likes of Napadovsky, Santana, Kennis or Langrock by the time that they, of course, get through the traffic. Have some of the others just scampered off into the distance, or have they fallen into the clutches of the car behind? That is going to be the real question. Another second found here from Napadovsky this lap. Let's compare Steg's lap to Napadovsky. What is the overall difference in their lap times? So here comes Steg to the line. He sets a 1 minute 11.7 as Galanay comes into pit lane. Napadovsky across the line sets a 1 minute 10.3, but has to defend the inside line from Alex Santana, who looked for the move around the outside, just had to back out of things and might try what Kennis did onto Dennis Langrock not too long ago. There is 1.4 seconds between Steg and Napadovsky, and now is Santana going to see himself have an opportunity to go through? It's not. But Galanay, the first one to pit off those hards and onto a set of the mediums. I feel like they're going to struggle to get to the end. Have to wait and see. So for Alex Santella coming out of Yin South, it's going to be the moment where he gets through. Across the line we shall go. And no, nothing from Santana just yet. Napadovsky holds firm in his position. I think they're mainly just focused at the moment here. Napadovsky and Santana just to be able to hold on to their own places. Especially Santana with Kennis bearing down his neck from behind. And they're also just focusing on trying to catch up to that traffic and not losing too much time in their own race course. Lap 21 now of 36. Nearing the end of this Grand Prix. We are in that latter stage now. Second half of the race. And are we going to see Wojtek, Steg, Diaz or Koya all come into pit lane? Diaz's tyres are probably going to be a little bit worn than the two Red Bulls around him. Of course, there's a Red Bull powertrains 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Now Honda powertrain, Red Bull aid with the main Red Bull cars, and this is one of the B carbs in the train at the moment. But of course, they're still yet to stop. Galanay's 9 seconds off the back of Achenbach. Pressing this where Steg, Diaz, and Koya all come out in relation. When do they pull it? When do they think the time is right and have enough time to be able to make their way through the rest of the field? That's it. Main question. Galanay 9.4 seconds into turn 8 on this lap between until Ackenbach. We'll say 9.2 actually, up to that as we enter the braking zone. So we'll have a look, see how much he finds on a lap. Head to Ackenbach in front. Now, are we going to see Steg into pit lane? Certainly did seem so. Yes, we will. Same with Diaz. Of course, Daniel Koya will have to go on for another tour. They can't double stack at Red Bull. Daniel Koya, he'll have to stay out for another attempt. So, for Jeremy Galladay, he now heads down that main straight. He's going to easily jump the Red Bull and the V-Carb for now. Of course, it was both the V-Carbs and both the Red Bulls on that hard tyre strategy. That hard medium. And that gap now 8.8 between Ackenbach and Galladay. Finding a little bit of time, but that DRS is just so powerful. Everything he does gain, 8, 7, 8. Going to find just around about a second, I feel like, by the time we reach turn 8 on this tour. That's his pace to Ackenbach. Steg is 5 seconds behind. 3-lap fresher tyres. That could pay dividends on the end of this race. And for Dennis Langrock as well. A little bit further up the field, he's the closest driver to somebody on the circuit. Starting to apply some pressure onto Dennis in front. Daniel Koya, of course, now comes in pit lane. That means Lapidovsky now does take that race lead. Galladay on 7.6 wide, so he is around about a second a lap faster. Sauber in front, but will those tyres stay in that window for good? Okay, eventually, if of course, if Napadovsky season has only picked up the 1 point. That came at round 4 in Texas. His other performances, well, I say his other performances, he only had one other performance other than that, and that was a 15th place in Austria. Not been able to really attend so far this season outside commitment. If he can pull off a performance like this and get a race victory, certainly give himself some confidence. Move his way up in even top 10 of the standings. We'll have to see how this race does well and play out. Langrock close for a move there onto Giovanni Kennis. Again, just isn't there to do so. Galladay 7 seconds behind Ackenbach. And Wojtek Stegs found a 1.2 so far on the back of the V-Carb as we see Langrock really trying to shape up a lunge against Kennis. Kennis has to defend the inside through turn 8. Now tried the up and under is Dennis Langrock through 8 and also to try it through 9 as well. Is he going to look for a lunge into the Pico Tapato? Kennis holds firm, defends the inside, but around the outside goes the Mercedes. Just no way round. That is a roadblock at the moment being formed by Giovanni Kennis. But one thing they cannot afford is if they drop out of DRS range, and that might be what Kennis does. He's just able to stay within it. Of course, all this squabbling is inviting East Creek, Vidler and Flack the fray as well. We're certainly looking like we're getting our third different winner of the season this time around. Victor Vidler. Maybe his worst result of the season. Well, finished at a podium at every race he has attended. That 100% podium record will be gone. Of course, the only track he attended was Austria. We see one of Vidler Gabadi on the podium. Not one, it's the other. Yellow flag in the middle sector. It's actually for Jeremy Galladay. Something's happened to Galladay here. Seems to be on the exit of Sino de Largo. Might have just dropped it on the exit of the corner and he's lost both front wing end plates. And for Jeremy Galladay, the Frenchman, it's been a double French disaster in Galladay and Gio. And this has not been a very, very strong race from either Frenchman, both making mistakes. Very much been a day to forget for the pair of them. Galileo, of course, picked up his first points of the season last time out, was potentially be on for more points, carry on that streak, but unfortunately for him, that'll be race over unless there is a late safety car. And no, he does elect to retire. So that is our second retirement of the evening. Jeremy Galanay is actually, Napadovsky has disconnected from the session. Oleg Napadovsky disconnects from the race lead from what was looking like a miracle in his championship, in his season. For Napadovsky, he is disconnected with only 10 laps to go. Lanrock trying to swing his way around the outside of Napadovsky's AI, and oh, it's just been such a horrid season for Oleg Napadovsky. I said earlier on in qualifying that this season, when he has turned up, it has just not gone his way. Things have just not been what he wanted, not had the season he needed, not had the luck he needed either. And for Napadovsky, he falls short. And for Alex Santana, he might be able to carry on the tradition of a Williams being on the top step, or at least on the podium for now. Oh, and Napadovsky's AI boxes as well. Oh, it gets even worse for Oleg. You can only feel sorry for the Kick Sauber driver. Oh, and he's joined back now, but the race is already ruined. And it's put him on his medium tyres that was on at the start of the race. They're not even going to make it to the end. Oh, so that'll be our third retirement, surely, in Oleg Napadovsky. Still came out ahead of Niall Gio, though, as in AI mode. So that just shows how bad Niall's race is going at the moment. The fact that he was able to stay in front of Niall. Oh, that's a big slide from Santana out to the Pico to Pato. But for Napadovsky, oh, you can only feel so sorry for him. Santana now leads Kennis, leads Langrock, leads Krieg. Victor Vidler could actually still carry on with this podium streak if something happens in front of him before he has a late race charge. Certainly be his goal. Of course, the lowest finish of third every other race. Won 3 races this and Austria and finished third in Baku. In terms of championship as well, Lanrock will be gaining points. Napadovsky, of course, has retired from the race. He will take no further part in this one. Just how heartbreaking is that? That must feel awful in the car as that's Vidler into the back of his creek. Oh, that could have been a very scary moment for Victor Vidler. That certainly, if he spun around the Ferrari, been any hopes of a podium over. Maybe not in the race, but certainly post-race. For Alex Santana, he's had a best finish of second twice. Same for Langrock and for Giovanni Kennis. He, of course, in Alpine has... Actually, I don't think scored a... as Giovanni Kennis. No, he has not. I think this is his first appearance here in F3. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. Of course, being a reserve driver, he's got a best finish of 4th. Currently sits 9th in the standings. 14 points to his name. 4 for the 5th place result. 5th place last time out, of course, home race. And Daniel Coy has been sent for a spin as he's now come into contact with Claudio Diaz. We cut to the Red Bull as we saw he was side by side with Diaz and he is sent backwards. And that's the second incident for Diaz at turn 6 and 7. And for the V-Carb, I don't know what happened in that one, but that could potentially be a very similar incident. What we saw with Baszler, but this time has sent the other car, the attacking car, in. I don't think Steg and Diaz just get close enough for any surges up through the field at the moment. They're going to finish 8th and 9th. Of course, they will still 10th place at the moment, so it will still be a point on the board. As we head back to the front of the field. Still Santana from Kenneth, from Langrock, Krieg, Vidda, Flack and Achenbach in this train in the top 7. When we cross the line, we'll have 5 racing laps to go. Actually, Giovanni Kenneth must have made a mistake there. Out of the Topeka to Pato. And that's allowed Dennis Langrock through, but Crucially has lost the DRS to Santana. Could Santana now scamper off into the distance? Kenneth and his Krieg both are inside each other at the moment. DRS now open for the pair of them, and Kenneth could actually use this ghosting to his advantage by potentially having the opportunity onto Langrock in front. They're still ghosting in between one another. Langrock back within DRS of Alex Santana, so the Williams drivers not able to scamper off down the road. But for Giovanni Kenneth, he might have just cost himself a chance of a race victory, but crucially as well in terms of the championship, Dennis Langrock might have just now given himself a prime opportunity for a title comeback. With Victor Vidda down in 5th and him potentially taking that race victory, that will be a total of 10 points gained and bring that title battle down to 5 points between Langrock and Vidda. And of course, for Langrock, he has been very consistent indeed. The past 3 races, he's finished on the podium. 2 second places and a 3rd. Could have finished on the podium as well at Baku, you could have thought, but unfortunately, an incident underneath the virtual safety car saw him finish in 16th. That's a lot of pace in that machine. That German machine for the German driver. A little bit of contact further back, it sounded like it was actually of Victor Vidda being put under pressure here from Casper Flack, so it might get even worse for Victor Vidda as Flack is now going to try and get the move done. Of course, last time we saw him in a dying ember to try and get past the Williams driver, it was that contact with Santana, and this time around Victor Vidda is able to hold on to the position. Now heads through the long right-hander of turn 6 and 7 and then into 8. Heavy on the brakes down to 3rd gear. Not long left in this race now. We really are in those closing moments. We're in crunch time in this race. 3 laps to go when we cross the line here, ladies and gentlemen. For Alex Santana, he's got 3 more laps to try and hold on against Dennis Langrock. The German will really want this race victory. Well, of course, Santana is a title rival with him. Only 2 points separate the pair. Oh, Langrock goes off! Langrock off at turn 1, goes onto the grass, and that's another driver making a mistake following Santana. Kenneth's up into 2nd place now. Oh no, Langrock's disconnected! Our 2nd disconnect of the evening! And it's Dennis Langrock, a championship contender, is now seeing himself fall further down the order. And just like we saw with Napadovsky, Langrock is going to suffer a similar fate, and Vidda will see this with sheer glee in his eyes. He'll be grinning inside that cockpit because that is a title rival now out of contention. And look at the gaps throughout this field. It's a 2nd between Santana and Kenneth might have just been given Santana might have just been given an absolute lifeline in this race as Dennis Langrock, it looked like he went straight on at the first corner, but no, it wasn't because of a driver error. It was because the driver disconnected from the race, heading through turns 1 and 2. Oh, and that will be utter pain as Vidda is 1.4 seconds back from Krieg. So I think the only battle we're going to get at the moment is Casper Flack, makes his way through now. On to Victor Vidler, he's up into 4, so Vidler can still finish 5th, and Santana could be the one now, clawing that championship back down into his grasp. It'll be a 10-point game for him, bring that gap down to 8 points between the two Williams drivers, and this will be Santana's first victory of the season. Of course, 2 second places, last time out in the Netherlands and in Baku as well, where he was crucially and unfortunately denied the race victory by Abe Gabadi by only a few thousandths of a second. And could Kenneth spoil the party once more as we're on the penultimate tour, nearly heading onto that final lap? Lamrock has rejoined. He could still potentially get a point out of this. But out of Yensal for the penultimate time. Kenneth versus Lamrock. Victor Vidler might try to get past Casper Flack as well. You can see Santana really just holding on to that left-hand side. And here comes Santana defending as much as he possibly can. But Kenneth goes for the late dive to the inside. There's contact. Santana sent wide. Kenneth lets him back through. But this might invite Ivan Iskrig into the fray now, as they're going to be side by side down the retro poster, you would think, as Kenneth will try around the outside into the Sino de Largo. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It's going to be Santana. But will Kenneth try the up and under? He will. And Santana with a slide. Kenneth is through, and the Alpine driver is going to potentially take this victory. But here is Santana around the outside. Nothing doing there as we head into turn 8. Kenneth has been so good at defending in this middle sector, but could Santana break down that wall, find the code, and see himself take the victory? Or could he just wait until that main straight? Kenneth goes deep into the corner. There's a tag from Santana. It's going to be about the run out against Sal with the DRS and that run to the line. It'll be all about a game of nerves now. Who's got the better power? And Santana with the slide, and that might be it now for that victory, and he might even lose out on second place. It's going to be Giovanni Kenneth, the reserve driver, who picks up a victory on only his third outing. It's Santana with another second place, a bridesmaid once again, and Ivan Iskrig, who finishes off in third. But for Giovanni Kenneth, he started second, and oh boy, did he deliver when he needed to on that final lap. He may have made a mistake earlier on in the race. He was given a lifeline handed to him from the Langrock disconnect to get him back into that position for a potential race victory. And for Alex Santana, he'll be just so disheartened by that one as well. Another race victory denied on the final lap. And oh boy, was that a brilliant ending to that race. It was all about the nerves. Who could keep their composure? And it was going to be, of course, Giovanni Kenneth who did so. And for Santana, another win goes a-begging. But it's Kenneth who takes the race victory. A superb drive from him. And then it's Alex Santana, Iskrig, Flack, Vidler who ends up in 5th. Ackenbach, Steg, this first podium, of course, as well, without a Vidler that we've seen him participate in a race this. Ackenbach, Steg, Diaz, Koya, and Gio does end up getting a point thanks to Langrock, Napadowski, Gallané, and Basner. Firing race was the end of a frantic in Grand Prix. Connects will be the topic of that one, ladies and gentlemen. Well, oh boy, that is going a bit of heartache for Alex Santana, but for Giovanni Kenneth, big congratulations to him participating races season long in the Netherlands, where he finished 6th place, sorry, and then in Austria, where he finished in 4th. And that 16 points now promotes him up further up the standings. And actually, I think place now in the championship standings. He'll be a little bit too far back at the moment for the hunt for the title, but will certainly put him as an outside chance with 4 more rounds to go. If he can carry on the performance like this, and others around him drop points, and he gets the positions, he's able to capitalise on that. He could potentially himself into the championship fight, but we'll have to wait and see on that front. And for Noel Gio for his accident, all random disconnected, so that's unfortunate here from him. To ask if the drivers willing for a interview from the top three. See what they have to say if they do want to one. But for Iskrig, he'll be happy with a third place as well. That will be one of his best results of the best result there. Ferrari, no, of course, second place in Spain. It would have matched his best on-track finish. That was after Diaz got that penalty. That penalty that he got after winning on the track. But Iskrig with another third place on the road. His second podium of the season. Quite happy with that one. Very solid from the Ferrari driver as well. Kept himself out of trouble. He had no real big battles in that one. Potentially could have had second place to the line. Anybody. Doesn't seem likely just yet. So while we do that, I'll take you through the rest of your calendar evening. For this evening, for the rest of the season. Okay. So, next week, we head over to a street circuit we don't see often here in PSGL. We head over to Marina Bay in Singapore. Then we head to Spa for round 8, Abu Dhabi and Jeddah. 4 more races, 4 more weeks of 40. I also believe it is 4 more weeks of the F125 regulation cars. Finish on the 3rd of April. Thus, what should be scheduled for the release? F120. But it is going extremely interesting. It doesn't look like we're going to get anybody in at the moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going well quick. Another couple of moments. No one in. So we shall, unfortunately, not hear from any of our drivers on the top 3 this evening. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going it. So, thank you all very much for watching. Of course, join us next week for a trip to Marina Bay in Singapore. A very unique circuit. Not many PSGL seasons added on the calendar in recent times. Interesting how the drivers manage that challenge. Join me next week. I'm not sure if I'll have anybody with me, but I'll be really a face in the commentary box. But thank you all very much for watching. It's an absolute pleasure. Join us next week to see if Victor Vidler can maybe reclaim his place on the podium or even a race victory. We've had our 3rd different winner of the season being Ivano Kennis. Could we see a 4th? Are we going to extend that championship lead? Or could it be slashed down even more by the likes of Langrock and Santana? Be revealed next week. So join us at 7 PM UK time, 8 PM Central UK time. And we shall see you in the. Thank you all very much for watching. I have been Max Ring. Thank you all very much. Stay safe, stay well, and bye-bye.